Hello and welcome everyone, and you're welcome to the Magdalene Global Collective. This is a unity temple where I'm gathering all of the priestesses, seekers, and healers, coaches, mentors all over the world under the beautiful mantle of Mary Magdalene. And I'm joined today by another beautiful rose priestess, and she's in San Francisco, and her name is Laura, and I'm so happy to meet with you and talk with you today, Laura. And I'd love if you could share your story.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me. And it's wonderful to meet you because we just met. And I just felt, in my heart that this was a really good thing to do with you. And I'm just delighted to
Oh,
be here. So,
beautiful.
uh,
It's
my,
amazing how the guidance just flows in, and
yes.
you just receive it and you just go with your intuition as well, which is lovely.
Yes. And one thing I'd just like to say before I start with my story is that the stepping into your leadership is part of, you know, stepping into something that is calling you. And when I saw you, it came through my Facebook, and I saw that you had a podcast, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to ask. I'm not going to think about it or anything. And I just acted immediately. And to me, that's like a feminine leadership quality that you just, move forward when you get the feeling.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I'd love to if you share your story as well. Like, how did it begin for you? Because you were saying, just like me now, it started when you were a little girl, Laura.
Mhm. Yes, it did, and it started with my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, and we all lived together in what's called a flat, which is a double-decker house, and they lived upstairs, my grandparents, and me and my father and my mother lived downstairs, and I pretty much had the run of both of the dwellings, and my grandmother was a gardener, and as among other things, she loved her garden, she loved her roses, and every day after she would finish her chores, we would go in the garden and she would show me the flowers and talk to the flowers and show me how to speak to the flowers and it was just like a really special time that we kept that. My mother wasn't there, usually she was doing something else or working or, she just wasn't there, but it was this special time between my grandmother and I, and she anointed me with the rose. And during a very sad time when I was about 5, my mother, contracted tuberculosis, and she had to be, taken to a sanitarium, and she was gone for about a year. And so that's when I became especially close to my grandmother. And my grandmother was a God-fearing woman, and she was raised in Mexico, and she, of course, was very close to the Virgin of Guadalupe and a Mexican Catholic. So, you know, the the ties are very strong. And so she was very, very scared that my mother would die. And my grandmother herself had grown up motherless. And she always told me, love and cherish your mother. You only have one mother, but if anything ever happens, Mother Mary will be there for you because she is the mother of all. And so she, just put that thought into my mind. And when my mother was gone, when she was ill, I began to rely on that very much because I could feel my grandmother's fear, but at the same time, I'm trying to be brave, and she was trying to be brave as well, but we were both scared. And so we would go in the garden and speak with the roses, and she showed me that if I would speak to the rose and that Mother Mary was within the rose and that I could make contact with her and just, and at first I said, "Well, what do I say?" And she said, "Just say anything you want, What are you feeling? What do you need? What do you want her to know?" And so I began to develop that ability to speak to the flowers and thereby contact with Mother Mary. So that was the first important step in this lifetime that I took.
It's your initiation.
Yes,
Mm.
yes, and as I grew up, I didn't I didn't really think about roses or anything like that, but I was, feeling spiritual. Although sometimes I felt like as if I didn't fit in with everyone. Especially when I got to the teenage years, I always felt a little bit different, like I just I don't know, it wasn't an uncomfortable feeling, but it's just as if I knew something there was more. And so later I began to study herbs, and this became a 5-year adventure for me at this beautiful farm in California that was called the Dry Creek Herb Farm. And the woman that ran it was just really a earth mother, and she was wonderful, and I ended up being an apprentice, and we spent the weekend there. Once a month, I would go for 9 months out of the year. So I did this for 5 years, and at the end of the 5th year, the woman decided to sell the farm. So everyone, of course, was really sad and like, what are we going
Mm.
to do? And our place is going away. And, so we all had to realize that all of this study that we had been engaging in needed to mean something now, of course. And I was a little bit slow on that. I wasn't quite as active as some of the other women who were making tinctures and, working with the herbs and all of this. And many of them lived much closer to the farm because I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I was like the city girl that would come there. And and the others were more in the country. So they had access to more land and things like this. So I collected a lot of books and read a lot and just was contemplating what am I going to do with all this knowledge that I've been, consuming. And on the last day of the we had a festival because we always had a closing festival. And we had a beautiful potluck lunch, and there was festivities. We did a maypole and all kinds of really fun things. It was the most gorgeous day. Like, you just get the feeling like you feel all the energy in the air. And the sunflowers were 7 feet tall, and there was the gentle breeze, and I remember seeing them just swaying back and forth, and just so beautiful, and I thought, "This is some magical place," "This feels very, very special today." And although there was a sadness, there was also something in the back that was saying, "This is a very special day." So, as we were eating our lunch and, enjoying all of the food that everyone had made, a woman named Susan came out of her truck with a container, a small cooler, and she's bringing dessert. And I said, "Ooh, what have you got there?" And she says, "Ice cream." And it was like, well, what is it? Okay, it's lavender ice cream and rose ice cream. And I thought, oh, how wonderful. It was really warm out, and this looked really cooling, and the pink was so beautiful. It was the color, like, it reminded me that it was the color of angels. And so I started to eat the ice cream. She gave me a little spoon. She says, taste it, And I was the only one, for some reason, everybody's eating chocolate brownies and cakes and pies, and I'm here with this woman with the ice cream. And it didn't look that exciting, but there was something about it. So I take a bite and I go, I don't know, it was unusual. I kept doing it, and I couldn't stop then, and I noticed that the ice cream wasn't going in my stomach. It was going to my heart.
Yeah.
It
Mm.
was going straight to my heart, and it was not even going in my stomach, so I kept ingesting, and I felt like my heart was growing, you see, And then I saw my friend next to me, and because I felt like I'm having a sensation, and I said to her, "Do me a favor, taste this because I'm feeling something more than just a flavor." And she started eating it, and she goes, "Oh, yeah, what is this?" It was, like, magical. And so
Yes.
we kind of hogged it to ourselves, and I said, "If we don't stop, there's not gonna be anything left," because we just kept tasting and tasting, and we couldn't stop. And then, all of a sudden, I hear a voice, and it comes right into my ear from the right side, and it says, "You're going to write a book about cooking with roses." And I thought, What?" But I didn't say that. I immediately blurted out, "I'm gonna write a book about cooking with roses." And everyone said, "Ah, that's wonderful. What a good idea." And everyone starts chirping away. "Laura's going to write a book about cooking with roses. Did you hear that? She's going to write a book about cooking with roses." And it was going around and around and around. And I thought, oh my goodness, I just affirmed that I'm gonna write a book about cooking with roses, and I don't
Wow.
I don't know anything about this, what a mission I took on, all of a sudden just like that after eating this ice cream. So, I did do the book. It took me a long time. I finished the book. It took 7 years to do
Oh
it.
my goodness. Yeah.
Because it was on and off. It wasn't like, "This is my mission." It was like,
Mhm.
this was a hobby,
Yeah.
"I'm gonna write
Yeah.
this book," and it's a hobby, and it's enjoyable, and I learned a lot, and I studied, and I got recipes from all over the world, so I named the book The Rose Cookbook: A Treasury of Recipes from Around the World. And so I when I after I got it done finally, it launched me on a couple of years worth of rose, you know, going around to the various
Mm.
rose societies that we have, and they have, their meetings. Once a month, they meet in different cities, different clubs, and so I started making the circuit up and down California, and I would appear and, give a little speech and talk about my book and do some reading from the book, and I would usually bring some rose cookies or a rose cake that I would make with rose water and rose syrup, and then give some samples, and it was
Yeah.
really fun, it was beautiful, it was a wonderful thing, and I did it for a few years, I did that, and then I kind of fell back and just worked corporate and did that for the longest time, but I was really good at it, but I wasn't happy. And always I was finding ways to go back to the Rose, back to Mary, and eventually back to Mary Magdalene. And because later on, of course, through all of my ascension work, I realized that it was Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary who had
Yeah.
whispered that message to me about the
Mm.
book. And they were telling me, this is part of your path. You know, this is your path with the rose, and through the rose, you are with us, and we are with you. And so the message was very, very powerful and very, very strong. And but I went in and out again. So it took me all the way until the time that I left the corporate world, finally in 2023, when I decided this is enough. And then I truly stepped into my ascension and started, seriously working with the powers that be, with the goddesses, with Mary Magdalene, with Mother Mary, and then the dragons stepped in as well. So I started really understanding what my mission was, and it turned me back around to the rose.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
I
It's powerful.
yes, it was very powerful. And when I came into studying with one mentor who had a thing called the Dragon Quest. This is when it became very powerful for me because through working with the dragons, I was able to travel to several other lifetimes. And that's when I made discoveries of my lineage. And because that's what I was seeking, I really wanted to know. Because going back to my grandmother, I thought, well, it didn't end with her. You know,
Yeah.
there was more behind her because she had told me stories of her grandmother, which would have been my great grandmother, that when she came from France, she brought roses with her and tried to salvage some rose plants that she had from France. And I guess they sewed them, they would put them in their skirts and, in their bodice and things like this to bring them with them so that when she got to Mexico, which is where she was migrating to with her husband, who was from Spain, would be able to enjoy the roses that she had when she was in France. And so when I started to discover all of this and even more with the dragons, my lineage started to, really shape up in front of me. And I traveled to some Palladians as well, and I was introduced to my grandmother there, who was a master gardener at the time. And then I was introduced to working with the roses and flowers, and that I was a flower linguist, that I was able to make music with the flowers.
Mhm.
The tones would come through, and all of this was, the messages that I was getting by opening my channel by working with this mentor who had the Dragon Quest.
Yeah, the light language as well. It's just coming
Yeah.
through as well. Yeah. It's
Yes.
beautiful, isn't it?
Yes, it's really beautiful. And then during last summer, I guess there was in June and May of last year, there was a lot of solar activity, solar
Mm.
flares, and it was affecting me a lot for some reason.
Yeah.
I was feeling these energies, and that's when I started having a lot of connection to Mary Magdalene. And I I was getting a lot of downloads. And so the downloads came, and there was 4 in total, and 3 of them were very strong, and I completely got the Rose Codex that I work with now to in 3 big chunks. It came all Earthborn roses, Threshold roses, and then galactic roses. So all of that came, and then in September, the final message came, and this happened when I was sleeping, and I was awoken, and I felt a presence in the room, and it was dark. I felt a presence, and I rose up, and I said, "Who are you?" And she said, "You know who I am." And and then I knew it was Mary Magdalene, and she presented herself as a burgundy flame, and in the middle of the flame was gold, and it was, burning and flaring, and I felt, of course, very drawn to this flame, and I said, "What do you want to tell me? What do you want? What do you want me to do? What do you wanna tell me?" And she immediately went into a light language message. And I thought, "Oh my gosh." So I jumped up and I grabbed my notebook and I took down dictation of what she said, phonetically in the light language. And I wrote it all down. And this went on for 1 hour. And I captured it. And I thought, "Oh, this is incredible." And that was that was it. That was the final step that I realized my mission was aligned and that I was on the path. I was part of the lineage and that Mary Magdalene was with me.
Beautiful, beautiful. And how many years as well of the preparation as well to get to that moment too? You know, it
Oh,
takes a
yeah.
long time. Yeah.
It's a journey. It's
Was
a
it
total life
finally when
journey.
you was it finally when you stepped back from your work as well? Did you find that's when you really stepped into the power of who you are? Did you
Yes.
really have to let go of all the distractions?
Yes. I had to because it was
Mhm.
inauthentic. It wasn't really me. I was pretending a life, it just wasn't.
Yeah.
And it started feeling worse and worse towards the end. I
Yeah.
started to feel as if I was losing myself, I was losing my femininity. I just didn't feel right at all.
Mhm.
And I knew there had to be something, I had to work my way back to myself.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. What a beautiful journey you've had. And like, what would you share with the listeners if they also feel a calling to Mary Magdalene and to the Rose?
Well,
What would you advise for them?
I would say open your heart and listen and
Mm.
don't be afraid. Just, there's nothing to be afraid of. It's total love. It's
Mm.
the most beautiful feeling. Like I can barely describe how it is, but it's the feeling of completeness
Mm.
when you work with that energy, and it just feels like it's meant to be. I it's just so ingrained in me, and I'm just so grateful that I have been able to find the lineage and trace it back, and then I got relentless with my aunt. My mother's passed away, but her sister remains, and I was, pounding her for information, trying to help her remember because I'm remembering what my grandmother told me. I had I had buried that information. I forgot that she told me that my grandmother, you know, came with roses from France, and I thought, just as a 4 or 5-year-old, you're thinking, "Well, that
Yeah.
sounds silly," or, "Why would she
Yeah.
do that?"
She was going to bless the land where she was going. She was
Yes,
bringing that medicine with her.
yes, she
But
wanted to
like, there's
keep
a
the connection.
to keep the connection. Yeah, there was
Mm,
a message I hear over and over again from Mary Magdalene. It's like she wants us to come into the fullness of her spirit and to really rest into her heart and working with her heart to be so open and so grateful. Because when the more you go into the gratitude, the more your heart opens, and it opens like the rose. And it is that this medicine is there for everybody,
mm,
because the thing is that a lot of people are stuck in like, I don't know what you could call it. Maybe you might call it a slumber or the matrix, or just sometimes they're not even living, like they're just lost in the living of their lives. And the rose like that, it brings you back so much into being that it's like now you can't sleep once you experience it. You need to stay awake. You need
mhm.
to live from that fullness. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Have you helped many women as well, Laura? Are you actually providing sessions and
Yes, I am, and I created the codex. I'm also working on a book right now, and that's keeping me quite busy. So I'm creating a first book. There's actually going to be 4, but the first book is the Rose Codex, the art of divine remembrance, and because I feel that that is the path,
yeah,
the
that's
the
the key,
remembrance
isn't it?
path. Yes. That is
Yeah.
the path of remembering, who you are, where you came from, who came before you, what did they give you, what do you carry from them? It's so important. And I feel, just like you said, some people are just not awake. They're not there, but the ones that are, or the ones that want to wake up and know themselves and remember that those divine memories. Yes, for sure. I love to help those to help them
Yeah.
remember because
And
it's the most beautiful feeling.
what what would you say about the dragons? Like, what did the dragons bring to you in your life?
I feel that they brought well, first of all, they're very benevolent and very sweet and kind and helping and loving, and they bring a deep remembrance, just as if because they're coming out from under the ground, coming back out and, bringing this deep knowledge, and I love them because they're very protective and just making you feel very safe and
Clearing the earth
being
as
there
well, aren't they?
instantly. Yeah, they just whenever you ask, they're there, just like any other benevolent energy that you work with. Once you make the connection, if you want help from them, they are there for you. And the journey expanded itself because as I developed this Rose Codex, I realized that there was a dragon ally for each rose. And so that thickened the journey, right? It made it even more interesting because then it started to break down like not only does the rose have a meaning and a color and, characteristics, but now there's this ally that's helping with the rose and also bringing in its own characteristics and qualities.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I channeled myself. There was around 9 roses that came in. There was 9 different kinds.
Mhm.
And each one like that, like, has its own vibration and can just apply to the different people as well, you know?
Oh, yes.
I found the white rose. I don't know if you felt this yourself, but it really actually, I was told, is that it dissolves the ego and it dissolves the spiritual ego that sometimes people can fall into that little trap as well, of feeling like they're the only person in the world to be a channel for the energy, or to share the energy. Because really it's there for us all as well.
Yes. Yes.
And it really is that time to wake up. So, like, what would you say to the person now that wants to learn more? Go to the books or go to the
You mean, as far as learning more about that energy?
yeah.
Well, I would say there's several things you can do. Start working physically with a rose and, really take time to look at the miraculous structure that it is because it is so in tune with even our DNA. I mean, the spiral energy is incredible and it's a galactic. It's a galactic energy. I mean, the spiral can take you on a journey if you
Yeah.
allow yourself to enter. And so I think just learning about the different colors and what they mean and the different energies that each rose brings, it's really interesting and it's a lot of fun. It brings joy and happiness, and then, of course, I got into different levels with a threshold level that I call, which starts to be I chose 44 codes for the codex, and those roses became, like the rose of sovereignty, the rose of harmony, all of this different thing.
Mhm.
All the different qualities that you would work on as codes. So I laid all of that out, and then the 3rd download was the galactic level, and that's because of the contact I made when I did the channeled activations with the dragon quest, and another of the classes that I took with the same mentor was Journey of Many Lives, something like that it was called, and we went to 5 different lands. We went to Atlantis, we went to Lemuria, we traveled with Palladians, we went to ancient Egypt, and each one of those journeys brought me closer to understanding more about my lineage because it was, you know, it was laid out for me each journey because that's what I was seeking. So
Mm.
what I would say is if you are curious and you are wanting to seek, do it. Take the action. Find somebody who can help you and, to help you take those journeys. It doesn't have to be a full channeling journey if you're not used to that. But, there are many activations and things that you can say and read that can help you to start to exercise that part of your soul.
Yeah. Yeah, even sitting with the rose on your heart, that's what I do for a lot of my clients. But it actually brings them back to themselves. It brings the soul back in and it actually clears the energy. If there's any
Yeah.
heavy energies or energy that's not yours, that's present as well, especially as an
Yes.
empath, it brings you back to yourself. It's so pure and it's so multidimensional as well. As you were
Yeah.
saying,
Absolutely. And the
it's
energy of
all
the
like, isn't it?
yes, and the rose
Yeah.
oil, essential oil,
Yeah.
is the highest vibration of any essential oil, and
Yeah.
it's got such a high vibration that it can make a difference in you if you put it on someone's feet.
Yeah.
Within,
Yeah.
10 or 15 minutes, they
Yeah.
can be transported to a much happier place.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I do myself is I do the rose on the feet. Yeah. I'm
Yes,
just blessing the body as well, bringing them back into their body. But yeah, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Do you feel the connection as well to Egypt, Laura?
I do, yes, I
Hugely.
do,
Yeah.
and,
It's really shown up for you as Isis.
yes, ISIS, of course,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I that's why I started the new launch that I'm gonna do, which is the temple of the Queens of Peace,
Oh,
and that's what I'm working with now is Sophia, Isis, Mary Magdalene, and Mother Mary, those
beautiful.
energies, so that's gonna be happening in July, so I'm happy about that. So, w what I love about all of it is that it keeps growing. And once you step out onto your journey, you know, it just keeps getting more and more and giving more back to you,
Yeah.
which is so
Yeah.
fulfilling and so heartwarming, just to like, what is it going to be now? It's like, this is a surprise. Just like meeting you, this was a surprise. This is part of my path. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
just
she calls it the gathering. She says the gathering of the sisters, she
yes,
just brings us together.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's so
it's
beautiful.
beautiful. Yeah, I say
Yeah.
to most people just even if you can just light a candle on your altar every morning and
Yes,
that's the light you call into your day. Just let your first moment be that you light a candle. And like that, it's that you're open up for the energy to come in.
yes.
And yeah, it's beautiful. But the one thing you've mentioned as well is that with the rose as well, you've always felt so much protection all your life as well with the Divine Mother and the Divine Feminine. Have you always felt that you're just held and you're safe?
I did, yeah, and my grandmother actually instilled that in me. I mean, she told
Yeah,
me, "If you ever feel, you know, afraid,
yeah,
don't be afraid because Mother Mary is always with you, and all you have to do is, think of her or look at the rose or smell the rose, and let's remember everybody feels it differently. Some people, it's visual. Some people, it's,
mm,
there's sense of smell. Some people ingesting the rose energy can bring them to Mary Magdalene or Mother
yeah,
Mary. And
yeah. Like the flower essences as well.
Yes,
or the rose tea.
the rose
Yeah.
water, the rose
Yeah.
tea, rose petals, making sachets, a dream pillow with rosebuds
Mm.
and petals in it. So,
That's a beautiful idea.
so
Mm.
many ways that you can do. It's just, that's why it's so an adventure because you don't know exactly what is gonna be for you, but you can
Yeah.
try all these different methods, and it's a lot of fun as well.
And do you pray, Laura? Like, have you been asked by her to pray, or do you just pray in your light language? What way do you pray now?
I prayed in a couple of ways. Yes.
Yes.
I prayed the normal way that I was brought up praying, and I pray in light language, and I pray silently,
Mm.
So various methods just I don't know if it's depending on what I need or depending on what I feel.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
it seems like it's just a normal way of being. Just in a almost like in a constant state of prayer.
Mhm.
Just the vibration is just always there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's true. Once you live a life of devotion,
Mhm.
it's part of the everyday. It's beautiful. Is there thank you so much for sharing your story as well. It's just I hope that it has reached that one person that
Yeah.
needed to hear this today as well. Have you a little offering or a little healing or a little meditation or something you'd like to share with the listeners today? Or a little blessing?
Well, I could, I suppose. I would just I would say that Mother Mary is saying, "I am always with you, and you can find your grace easily when you think of me. Pick the white rose and feel its purity. You will know and remember what you have always known." And so it is.
Beautiful, Laura. It's such sweet, isn't it? Just such a beautiful, sweet energy.
Yes.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on and for sharing your story and your love and your light with all of us today.
Oh,
And
it's my pleasure.
it was an absolute pleasure. Yeah, absolute pleasure. And the very best of luck now with your book. And I know there's so much more to come as well.
Oh,
So,
yes.
yeah, so we'll add all of your details in as well on the description.
Oh,
And
wonderful. Thank you so much.
yeah,
I
and
really
so
enjoyed.
much love.
Yes. Lots of love.
Beautiful.
Always.